I must confess, I did not write this speech. This was written by a 15-year-old boy. A boy who lived through his entire school life in fear. Always on guard, protecting himself from being caught on the wrong foot. A boy who felt humiliated by his school. A boy who felt discarded by his school. A boy who never returned to his school. This 15-year-old boy's name is Rahul Mansoor. He's an introvert. Public speaking petrified him. Still does. He prefers speaking to the mountains rather than a group of human beings. Because he came from a school that told him, if you did a speech, it's got to be perfect. He was told that looking into a paper while speaking at a public forum was a sign of failure. And he was not given permission to fail. Today, I will read out Rahul's speech. Today, I will read from this paper. Today, I will be the imperfect speaker. And I hope that I'll still succeed in reaching out to you. Let me take you into a school, a world where you were supposed to be taken care of, appreciated, encouraged, and given the confidence to take on the outside world. But all he carried with him after graduating was an envelope containing a transfer certificate, hostility, fear, shame, and rejection. This is his speech. Respected principals. This is how every speech in my school began. I often smirked at the respected part. I would ask myself, did I really respect her? And why the respect? Because she's the leader of the school, they said. I would ask myself again, but how is she a leader? Is it because the school prospectus calls her one? Is it because some staff member referred to her as one? Or is it because she's the guiding light that takes children to the shores of success? Doesn't that last line sound brilliant on marketing brochures? Now try selling that to a 15-year-old who's listening to Sadda Huck on his iPod, and he's just learned that it's very cool to disobey authority. But how can you sell if the only time you talk to the kid is either at annual public functions or while you're suspending her? How can you sell if you just don't intend to communicate? Now, when I say communicate, I don't mean the literal definition. I'm talking about reaching out, creating an environment with your words, and influencing a budding life. I know a lot has changed in the communication department since I left my classroom 8 years back. Schools have now become more better with their PR, and communication has become more human, more moderate. But I feel it's superficial at best. Now here's an example, and I found this passage on my school's website. Now this is a passage from the head of the school to the parents of future students, including 4-year-olds. Now after the hi and hello, there's a passage about a theory on holistic development and how that is applied in the classrooms, and I quote, "After a learning episode, the student would have acquired new knowledge, attitudes, and skills. In order to achieve this, we have closely linked education in our schools with multiple intelligences, problem-solving skills, creative and critical thinking, and technology integration." Now, as far as I remember, none of this really happened. I mean, after a bell rang, I never felt an acquisition of skill and knowledge. It was usually panic and pandemonium related to the next class. A common conversation would be, "Hey, did you do that homework? Oh shit, man, we're screwed. I hope the teacher is sick and doesn't show up." Not exactly on the lines of holistic development. Now, what's interesting to note here is the language and the choice of words used in this piece of communication. It reminds me of my days as a copywriter. So if we had to sell a 20 rupee rice and dal for 200 rupees, we would package it as steamed white rice, handpicked from the quaint green hills of the Vindhyas, with golden lentils, simmer to delicious perfection. Just in case you didn't follow, it's still dal and rice. Now this is what we do as copywriters. We screw with your minds. We make you read these fancy words that you really don't want to understand, and your mind thinks, hey, I don't know what this is about, but it sure sounds good. And then we trick you into buying it. Now, this letter to the parents, it's probably a work of an oversmart, sleep-deprived copywriter. But someone in the school management said, yes, these words represent us. And they signed it off. So what that communicates to me, at least, if I was a parent of the child, and mind you, I'm no expert in understanding teaching techniques and the current jargon, it makes me say, whoa, these are fancy techniques that the school is using. It raises the bar so high that it feels like I'm sending my kid to this structured and controlled environment where she's definitely going to succeed. But is that what you want to communicate? Now, I'd be damned if you did, because the funny truth, life as I know it, in itself is not structured, it's not timetabled, it's unpredictable, it's very dynamic, and most importantly, it's very emotional. So I searched the rest of the letter that was addressed to the parents by the school, and I don't see a single mention of emotional care. I mean, care and love are one of the most important aspects that groom a child, right? So why is there no mention of that? And why such complex language? Have you ever wondered how your complex thoughts influence the children? Now imagine if I printed those words, the holistic development words, onto a piece of paper, and I gave it to a 4-year-old and I told her, hey, this is what your school says. Now a normal kid would probably just tear that paper or make a paper plane out of it. And in that cockpit of that paper plane, she'll place her dreams. But the words on that paper are so heavy that her flight of dreams will not take off. Is this the weight the school wants to place on the children's shoulders even before they begin to carry their own school bags? You know, instead if the schools wrote, hey, send your kids to us, we'll take great care of them, we'll love them, we'll protect them, and we'll groom them into confident and independent human beings. And then you explain how you will do that with those teaching techniques. Sold. You don't need a copywriter for that, you save money. All you need is some honesty and some intention to communicate better. That's all. The way you communicate, you know, it changes the way you look at things. What you believe in, it can make you less hungry. It can find you the confidence you never thought you had inside you. Phrases like, how are you feeling today? It's okay, tell me. We won't judge you. Don't worry, we have your back. Go have fun. We love you. Small phrases but can make a big difference. The same difference that exists between a yellow school bus and a white mortuary van. The same difference that exists between a confident 15-year-old speaker and a petrified one. Speaking of petrified, my mother's here in the audience. Hi, Ma. The last time we were around so many principals and school heads, we were petrified. How are you doing now? Yeah, they all seem like nice people. So all of us, we ask our kids what they want to be. Not my mother, she didn't. She asked me who I want to be. So as a 4-year-old, I looked around and I thought of my favorite person. I said, train engine driver. Why? Because I love trains. I love traveling. Today I sit in McLeodganj in Himachal Pradesh. I run a travel startup that promotes offbeat road trips and treks in the Himalayas. Today, some part of me has succeeded in living my engine driver dream. How many such kids do you know who've been successful in living their dreams? Schools often measure success by the placements their kids get. You know, they brag on annual day functions when they receive heavy pay packages from huge corporate companies. But why don't these schools talk about how hectic these people's lives are? How they wake up every morning to a paltry breakfast, how they spend 4 hours on the road every day, how they don't know what their kids are doing at school, how they don't find time to spend the money they earn, and how most of them are really not happy, and how most of them don't even talk about it. Because they're so used to bottling up their emotions and chasing their goals, because that's what they learned at school. That's what you taught them. So that takes us back to who you want to be and what you want to be. The answer to what you want to do in life will give you a profession. Who you want to be will give you an identity, a persona, or a choice of lifestyle. And a profession is just a small part of this identity. Professions often change, sometimes radically. An identity doesn't change, it evolves. So why are schools stuck up on concentrating on professional achievements when they could help the kid with the bigger picture and make something great out of herself? So respected principal, as my leader, who's supposed to guide me to the shores of success, you've been putting me on the wrong damn ship all this while. Adults need leaders, kids don't. You know what kids need? They need superheroes. Superheroes, you know, they're ordinary people just like you and me, but they do extraordinary things. They fly, they jump buildings, they kill the bad guys, and they save the world. They inspire children to dream. They inspire them to do great things that make a world a better place to live. But shouldn't that be the school's aim in the first place? So you, heads of the school, I think you need to be your student's superhero if you want to inspire her. It doesn't mean you have to wear a Batman cape to school every day. Although I think, Mr. Roshan, you look wonderful with a cape. But that would offend the Spider-Man fans, so let's not have it. Yeah, you know. But no. Why will you change a successful formula? At least something that's commercially successful. You know, if you ask me, are schools or factories? Where little kids are put in boxes and then you place them in an assembly line for 14 years where they're drilled systematically, then packaged uniformly and shipped to the next factory. So respected leader, can I take my head out of the box and ask you, what have you been doing with me? I know a principal's role goes beyond the school campus. He or she is responsible for a lot of things that I am not aware of. I don't know about the burdens on your shoulders or the worries on your brow, but what about being my leader? And still give me a reason why I should respect you. Let me tell you a story. I was 10 years old. It was 12:30 in the afternoon. It was our lunch break. I was walking on the grounds speaking to a couple of my friends. We shared a joke about how fat a teacher was and how many babies he probably had inside his paunch. Yeah, we laughed loudly. Or if I have to exaggerate in my school's words, we were thinking and acting inappropriately that did not display exemplary behavior and wasn't on the lines that upheld the reputation of our highly esteemed school. So that laugh didn't last for longer than a second. We simply bottled it. Because in the balcony of the higher floors of that school building stood respected Madam Principal, looking down like a vulture with her eyes that shot fear. As if she was waiting for her prey. As if she was waiting for lunch. We bottled our laughs because we were simply shit scared of her. Yes, we were scared of laughing. We were scared of openly being happy. I know, it sounds like I've had a horrid school life. The truth is, I've had some fantastic times too. My school made me a stronger person, and without a bit of sarcasm, I honestly owe whatever little success I've had to my school. But these feelings, they overshadow every pleasant moment I've had, and they form the package of every memory I carry from those grounds. Now, my words may not be theoretically or politically correct, but I'm not here for correct. I'm not here to make a point or to inspire you. I'm here to tell you things you already know, but you choose not to hear, because of which you choose not to change. I'm here to show you the mirror. I'm here to make you cringe. I'm here to even offend you, to tell you exactly what I feel, what we really feel. Any other students? So as a principal or as a human being, is that how you people want to be remembered? Someone who incites fear? Because one pretty successful guy did that really well. They called him Hitler. The next time someone addresses you as a respected principal, I hope you feel uncomfortable in your skin. Ask yourself if that speaker really, honestly meant it. And the answer to that question may be uncomfortable. But you need to open your windows and let that storm come in. You need to stop staying in a closed room where the truth is tweaked to your comforts. Accept the reality and deal with it. Deal with this real world where teenagers use the F word like a punctuation mark smoke, drink, take drugs, watch porn, or indulge in unprotected sex. Don't ignore it. Or don't think this happens in other schools. Or the kids from your school are morally and culturally more upright. And they would never indulge in such quote-unquote unsavory behavior because the rule book considers it inappropriate, because you consider it inappropriate, and you don't allow it. Right now as we speak, somewhere a 14-year-old kid is desperately texting his girlfriend about how much he loves her and how he cannot live without her. One of his friends is probably smoking a joint for the first time. One of them just discovered beer. This is happening. So how do we deal with this? A girl hugs a boy in school, suspended. A student used the words prostitute in class, suspended. A student is caught smoking off campus, suspended. Does the school state rules and tell kids how cigarettes are bad because they damage their lungs? And then just suspend them to punish them? What makes the school think that the students will not smoke during that suspension period? So where is the teaching in this? Where is the lesson for life in this? So my suggestion, reason with them. Don't just reprimand them because they didn't follow the rules. To hell with your rules. Rules are meant to be broken. That's the thought process these days. So how does the school fix this? Now, I would not stop at just telling them that smoking is injurious to health. They know about that. Cigarette packs explicitly state that, and it's boring. So how about taking a road trip? Right here in the outskirts of Bangalore, there's an organization called Karunashray. It is home to last-stage cancer patients who prefer spending their final moments in peace instead of desperate and painful medication. What your suspended student will learn over an hour's game of chess with a cancer patient about the ills of smoking, now that's something the school will never achieve, even with a year's suspension. As a head of the school, deal with these issues head on. Don't wait for an incident to happen to start talking. Don't give us long speeches like I am now. They're boring. Tell us stories. Have discussions. Invite ex-students for a fun chat with the juniors. And they don't have to be a Mark Zuckerberg to qualify for an invite. Just average, naughty ex-students who might have scored 75% in their exams or less. Invite them to share their version of school. Let them talk to the kids about how they face the same problems that today's children are facing. And how they got over it, and how things are better now. As a head of the school, talk more and talk human. Children are white canvases. Teachers are not just guides, they are artists. Give deserving teachers the freedom to change, to shake things around, and give them the room to make their Mona Lisas. Go to random classes, have random chats, ask the kids whether they're playing enough or not. Express that you truly care for them. Write open letters to children in a relationship. Tell them it's all right, it's natural, but explain to them in their language why they need to keep it on the back burner. Be a leader, but not above us. Don't just stand in the balcony and play vulture. Come down. Be amongst us. Be a friend. Be an inspiration. Be a superhero. But does it hurt your ego and title if you're nice to us? Or do you prefer the mafia style of create fear and rule because it's more efficient and easy? I feel it's like sometimes when I hear schools speak, it's like you people live in a make-believe world where you actually think you're going to lead the kids into some kind of righteousness that further leads to perfect life excellence. So for example, as a teenager, if you don't want me to indulge in unsavory behavior like, God forgive me, get attracted to a girl, or talk inappropriate stuff like sex and porn, I won't. But when exactly am I expected to indulge in such unsuitable behavior? Can you imagine what will happen if every kid actually fit into this mold that schools are trying to fit them into? We'd be machine products that can only churn perfection and excellence and not know anything about trivial things like human relationships and making kids. Can you imagine how horrible that would be for you? No making kids. How will your school run without kids? Who will buy those overpriced uniforms? Have you thought of that? But you know that will not happen. We're India. We love making kids. And you will continue to take us for granted, won't you? Which makes me wonder, does it make sense to be a parent these days? Because don't you think it's better not to have a child than to put her in your hands so that she can be judged at every stage of her life, ridiculed in the name of discipline, and go through all that shit simply because you don't want to adapt and change the requirements of the real world outside? I am the 15-year-old boy you disappointed. My name is Rahul Mansoor, and I wish I had a better school life.